Now we wait, it says.
We are unusually punctual today.
Well, what can I say? My kid hasn't slept. It'll do that. Hang on.
Not that I'm proud of not being punctual.
No.
Quite the opposite.
We just accept what life is. There we are. Okay.
And speaking of your daughter, she just turned 10 months.
10 whole months.
2 days ago.
10 whole daisy months.
And she's getting cuter and funnier and more demanding.
Oh, God, yeah.
By the minute.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, right. Josh says Daisy went to the dog zoo and still didn't sleep. It's true. It's pretty funny watching my daughter with the dogs because I'm fairly certain she thinks she's a dog. And what I keep telling friends is, who am I to tell her no? Who am I to say, no, you may not be a dog? No, Jessie's not blonde. This is temporary. I'll explain. It's temporary. Jessie is not. Well, actually, legally, yes.
She is a blue-eyed, blonde-haired California baby.
That's right. From the valley, like totally. And I don't like my blonde hair, so I dye it different colors. It's always grass is greener, you know? You always like something else that somebody else has.
Hello, Virginia.
Hello, Australia. Happy not so hot Sunday. Yes, it is. It is not as miserable today. I'll take that. I will happily take that. 1 second. It looks like we're up and running, which is my favorite kind of running.
To be up and.
To be up and. To be both up and. Cool. Okay. I love it when it works. I look like Kim Novak. I don't think I look like Kim Novak, but I appreciate that. No, this is the comical in between that nobody really sees, which is when I'm between dying. So last night was Roots. I feel like I look like a Targaryen if you're watching the Game of Thrones stuff. So this is my middle ground where I have blonde roots so that I can re-dye the rainbow. I can re-enter my rainbow, my best rainbow life, because we are going to be heading to Telluride this week. And then after that, we're going to be going to D23. So my husband was kind enough to let me try to make myself look like a person again, because I'm going to be leaving the cave for a few days. So yeah, so as I say, I feel very Targaryen, very hip.
I'm really a little bit hesitant about the week or two ahead, because my wife and I become homebodies. I mean, we go out for doctor's appointments. Yeah. We see a trainer once a week and work out. Yeah. But we have our little, our little system of what we do at night when we take pills and when we get ready for bed and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, we're going to go into the real world.
Yeah, I think mommy's more into that than you. Mm-hmm. My mom really likes to not be home. And my dad is very happy being home. So I think this is a little bit of that. Chris says it's his birthday today. Happy birthday to you, Chris.
Happy birthday.
A lovely Sunday indeed. I hope you're celebrating and having a good time. Leonard, I have just started watching Only Murderers in the Building. Have you watched it? If so, what are your thoughts on it?
I enjoy it. I enjoy it very much. And we got to interview Martin Short
a couple weeks ago
for our podcast. And if you haven't heard that and you're a fan of that show,
you should, because he's great.
You'd be well advised to go to leonardmaltin.com.
You can go anywhere.
And we have a hot link there to the podcast.
Yeah, but also if you type in Maltin on movies, you'll find our podcast. Recently enjoyed the 40th anniversary screening of E.T. And cried like a baby. 1 second. During the last minutes. When was the last time you both cried at the movies? Oh, Jesus, I cry early. Thanks. My mother-in-law has joined us. It's just temporary, Sharon. I'm about to redo the rainbow. But this
Your mother in Wales.
My mother-in-law, who is living in Wales now. Yes. And yeah, my hair is in the in-between stage, but I'm glad you don't hate it. I always love when you don't hate my hair. That's great. I'm lucky. I like my in-laws very much. And that is a useful thing. It's a hell of a lot easier when you get along. And since we live here, my husband lives with his in-laws because he's a crazy person. So yeah, he puts up with all of the Maltin shenanigans, which from you are primarily, hey, everything's broken, I need you. That's sort of the purpose that you use my husband for.
He's tall and he's strong.
He is tall and strong.
And has skills. He
does have skills. And my mother, on the other hand, just uses him for strength, for brute strength. And she goes, pick this up, help me. So yeah, it's nice when the family can work together like that. What's your favorite movie? Oh, well, my dad always talks about that. It is Casablanca.
My all-time favorite movie is Casablanca.
But when's the last time you cried? I cried not in the most recent thing that made me cry was not a movie, but the series 5 Days at Memorial, because in the most recent episode, they euthanize a bunch of animals, and I am extremely sensitive to animal violence, even though technically that's not violence. Anything happens to animals, I lose my mind. So I was crying a lot when that happened.
I think I got my eyes got moist when we just revisited E.T. the Extraterrestrial,
which is the same thing that made this person cry.
I know in the spring at the TCM festival.
Yeah,
and I've always loved that movie, and I still love it.
And you were once again struck by Drew Barrymore's talent.
Oh well,
I mean, that was a big one.
All the kids.
Yeah,
all the kids are really good.
I always think about, you have to hope. Now, obviously, in the case of a movie, you're only using them once. So if they're only good once, that's not your problem. But I always think about in series where you start with a kid.
Yeah.
And you have to either think, okay, we're going to replace the kid at some point, or I hope they become a great actor.
Yeah.
And I do. I always think about that it's got to be really interesting when you're a casting person to sort of look and try to figure out what the situation
Henry Thomas is a very fine actor.
Yeah, he really is.
The little boy from E.T.
Yeah. Did you get to talk to him at the awards 2 years ago? Remember you were going to try?
Yeah.
Sometimes we try to get, you see someone, you try to go talk to them, but you can't always reach them fast enough. We were at an event and he was there and you were trying to.
I've just been reading the trades,
yes.
And talking about fall movies and the fall film festivals.
Yep. Yeah.
And Steven Spielberg has a new movie coming
The Fableman.
It's supposed to be an autobiographical movie.
Yeah.
About a kid growing up in a Phoenix suburb or Arizona suburb.
Yeah.
And getting hooked on movies and movie making. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I love they got Henry Thomas to reprise Elliot in that cable commercial. That commercial was crazy. The amount of time and effort that went into that commercial was mind-blowing. I think anyone who saw it was, really, really thrown. Orion's asking what your shirt is. And yes.
Okay, well, this is a shirt that I got for contributing to the fund for David Pierce and James Layton to publish a big coffee table book about the early talking musical, The King of Jazz, which referred to this fellow, Paul Whiteman, band leader who was known as the King of Jazz. And here he's playing music to soothe the savage beast, as opposed to savage breast, and an animated sequence from that film. And I'm glad I contributed. It's a really good book.
And it's a great shirt.
It's a great shirt. And the film, if you've never seen it, is, I think it's just wonderful. And it's out on Criterion disc. And for years, it couldn't be seen at all. And then somebody got a print with foreign language subtitles. Bill Everson, I think, brought in that print to New York and screened it there. And then the Library of Congress found the original. It was done in 2-color Technicolor, and they found the original materials. And the Library of Congress had stuff, and I think the LOC did a lot of the heavy lifting there. But it's just wonderful. And Paul Whiteman is the man who commissioned George Gershwin to write a lengthy piece, which turned out to be Rhapsody in Blue. And
which is all right. If you're going to write a piece of music and it's Rhapsody in Blue, you're probably doing something correct.
Except Two Color Technicolor doesn't show blue. So they had a little challenge there.
That's funny. I still think it's funny that most people know that song because of United
Airlines. Yes.
But I remember as a kid hearing it when we'd get on the plane and they're playing it for you, and then hearing it in a film and saying to my dad, that's the United Airlines music. I was a little kid. I was like, why are they playing the United Airlines music in this movie? We got to a live version of it that I will never forget is seeing Gordon Goodwin's Big Fat Band.
Yes.
They do a spectacular version of it, and we got to see it live.
And which they allow for a little improvisation. Gordon's arrangement allows for a little improvisation.
Yeah.
And
if you don't know who Gordon Goodwin is, if you want to go see great live music, I mean, then they often play in Santa Monica for different events.
I know. Well, they just played Catalina, and I didn't know they were there.
Of course. My dad, lucky dad, was at Catalina. It's a jazz club last night. Hang on. So sorry, one thing at a time.
Right.
Gordon Goodwin's Big Fat Band, spelled Big Fat PHAT Band, is a wonderful big band. Such talented people and so much fun to see live. So much fun to see live. I think even if the term big band turns you off, it's just,
they're terrific. And
it's
he does
great.
He does.
And the amount of sound, because they are a large band.
And every member of that band is kind of like an all-star lineup.
It is an all-star lineup.
Of first call studio musicians and people who play almost anything. And,
so good. So if you ever get the opportunity, I recommend that you go and you see them, because they are just, they're a blast. My dad last night, and we haven't gotten to talk about it yet. You went with some of our friends.
Haven't been to the Catalina Jazz Club in literally several years.
Yeah.
And we got to see John Pizzarelli.
Where did you guys all go? When you went with your Swordfish group, where'd you guys go see?
We went down to the Cicada Club.
Oh, that's what it was. The
downtown.
Cicada Club. That's what it was.
And the band that we had planned to see, Alex Mendham from England, couldn't come. I think there was some COVID-related problem.
Yeah, probably.
And so we saw another group, the name of which I don't recall.
That's fine.
And they were good. But
last night, you saw one of the best.
John Pizzarelli, what a talented guy.
Was Jessica there?
No, just and he had a Japanese, I believe he's Japanese, he's Asian pianist who was just fabulous, that I don't think he's worked with before, and a great bass player too. And it was a generous show, almost 2 hours.
Yeah, wow.
And
John Pizzarelli is wonderful. His dad, if you are a person who enjoys jazz music, his dad is Bucky Pizzarelli. And the two of them
they've made several albums together.
Yeah.
If you've never heard them play together, they're. And
his wife is Jessica Molaskey, who is a jazz singer.
And a Broadway singer.
Yes. So it's all in the family, and it's a bunch of really talented people.
Yep.
So I'm so glad that it wasn't going to be bad, but I'm so glad that you guys had a good time.
And it was pretty full too.
Yeah. Did Stainan end up going? Was she there?
No.
Oh, what a shame. But how many other were you?
4.
4 of you. Who?
5. Howard's 2 sisters were visiting.
That's right.
Town.
That's right. Man, we have a friend who honestly might be the kindest person that exists in the world. Like, I don't think that's a stretch.
Nope.
He is the most kind and generous person that we know. His name is Howard Greene, and he's worked at Disney for 40 odd years doing publicity. He's just, he's the epitome of the word mensch. The hardest thing about it, though, is that you can never give him anything. He's one of those people where he's just really generous, and you want to return it, and you can't.
Generous with favors, generous with everything, his time.
With everything.
Yeah.
But also he has he's really taken care of a lot of Disney folks. There are some out there who sort of, without talking about it, make sure that older folks are taken care of. Whether that means literally taken care of or also just brought to the studio for events, brought to events in general, included. And that's something that he does. And it's really thoughtful. And it means that a lot of these people who otherwise might be stuck at home, they want to attend, whether it's some of the most famous animators you've ever met in your life. I mean, some of truly the best of the best. He knew them. He knows them. He was very close with Roy Disney, not Senior the first, but the second one.
Roy Edward Disney.
Roy Edward. Yeah, just truly a beautiful, beautiful person. But
he is all of that.
He really does take care of a lot of Disney folks. I'm assuming you're both members of Club 30. Girl, members of Club 33. Do you have $70,000 to spare every year? I don't. No, we are not members of Club 33, but we know enough people.
After the lottery winnings are tallied.
Yeah, exactly. After we win the lottery, then we'll join Club 33. No, we're very, very lucky that we have a number of friends who are members and they let us in. When I was a kid, I was talking to a friend about this recently who is a plaid. Michael Sinatra. Fun fact, if you did not know, Frank Sinatra's grandson, Michael Sinatra, is a plaid at Disneyland.
A plaid meaning
they're the special tour guides. And I just love the idea that somebody might have Michael walking around who's telling them about Disney. And then if you find out what his last name is, you go, sorry, what? We grew up together.
Frank Sinatra Jr., his father, told me, that's name dropping for you, right? Yeah. Frank Sinatra Jr. told me that they lived right next door or a couple of houses away from Walt Disney in the 50s on, would that have been Carrollwood?
Probably.
And the morning after the weekly Disneyland show aired, it used to be on Wednesday nights. Later, it became a fixture on Sunday nights. But it started out on Wednesday nights on ABC. And the morning after, when Frank Jr. would be waiting for the school bus to come and pick him up, Walt would stop and roll down the window of his car and ask what Frank Jr. thought of last night's show.
It's crazy.
That's one of those only in Hollywood.
Yeah. No, I don't, Christy, I don't know the exact cost of becoming a member, but it's something like 70,000.
Well, it's five figures.
It's some many thousands of dollars, and it's not like it's a one-time thing. It's annual. So yeah, we are not members. But yeah, we're very, very lucky. Growing up, we used to go all the time. I had many birthdays there. The thing was, and this is where social media gets tricky, right? There are many good things about social media and some that are bad. One of the things that has changed things in a very significant way is that there were a lot of places, and this is around the world, that were either secrets or just something people didn't understand or something that people weren't aware of. And that kind of kept it special. So whether that's a beach that no one went to or a restaurant that only locals knew, or in the case of Club 33, this hidden door. Some people, especially the ones who are hardcore Disney fans, they knew about it, but very few people knew much, and many did not know where it was, and you couldn't see it on purpose. It was difficult to find. And that is part of what made it fun, was that you disappear.
Yeah, there was this mystique.
You disappear into this dark door. There was a little doorbell, and people would watch you and they'd wonder where the hell you were going. And yeah, it was really, really fun, and it stayed original. It looked as it was. Some years ago, not very many, they redid it, and they made it much larger and changed the entrance to several doors down from the original. And it looks like an actual entrance. It has a door, it has tile on the ground. And because of something like Instagram, people post about it all the time. And even if they're not going in, they just take pictures by it. So it's just very, very different. And the inside looks completely different to what it looked like when I was growing up. So yeah, it's a little sad that this sort of magical thing is not a secret anymore.
Yeah.
But I also understand, do you, Ryan says, do you prefer the original or newer version more?
I haven't been to the new one.
Yeah. I've been a couple of times. It's beautiful. What they did is beautiful. It looks gorgeous. I do like that there's a second room.
Mm-hmm.
They made it so there's 2 different rooms now. There's one that's called, it's like the jazz bar or something like that, and it's less expensive. And then there's the formal room. Yeah, it's beautiful what they did, but I think I'll always miss the really, pardon my French, the really shitty elevator that only one person could fit in at a time, literally one person. And I miss it sort of, as I say, I liked that it was old.
Yeah.
But for the sake of the people that work there, I'm glad they fixed up the kitchen, because apparently that was one of the biggest nightmares, is it was old and falling apart.
This was created by Walt Disney.
Yeah.
When Disneyland opened, to give his what's the word?
It's
investors.
The 33 vendors.
It
was for the vendors.
It was for the vendors.
The 33 original vendors of Disneyland. That's why it's called
Carnation,
Club 33.
Carnation milk and Dole pineapple juice.
And that's where they could go. And so it originally was meant for that, and then became this. And then there's now they have one over at California Adventure too. They have one at the Carthay Circle restaurant. They have a similar thing there. So
there are 2 movies I can talk about this week.
Yes.
One is called The Good Boss, and it stars Javier Bardem, and it's very good. It's a Spanish movie.
And their review will go up today, if you want to read about it or learn anything about it.
And it's a pretty clever movie, because you think it's one thing and then it reveals itself gradually to be another. And he plays a man who's inherited a factory that makes scales from his father. And he has about 100 employees, gets very involved in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's of them as family, or at least that's what he thinks he does.
Mm-hmm.
Things start going awry, and testing his patience, and testing the veracity of his paternalistic outlook toward his employees. It's a social satire, and pretty funny and original. And I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Funny and original. That's what we like.
And then Thursday night, I taught my first class of the new semester, the fall semester. It's not fall yet, but we have the fall semester at USC.
Someone asked earlier if you were still teaching remotely. He hasn't been teaching remotely for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in-person classes.
Boots on the ground.
Yep. At the beginning of the year, the first the first 2 weeks were virtual again, because that was when Omicron had kicked back up. But now it's always in person, which is lovely. And
we started out Thursday night with a film called Breaking, that opened theatrically.
I get sorry, my daughter's screaming.
Oh,
Baba!
And I think also on VOD, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first feature film for a young writer-director named Abby Corbin. And she was my guest, and a very good guest too. She went to college at age 14, got her BA, and then came to USC and got a Master of Fine Arts at USC, and then was admitted into Sony's filmmaker trainee program. She's got a great resume, and she made a pretty good film. Stars John Boyega and Michael Williams and Connie Britton and Jeffrey Donovan.
This is Michael K. Williams' last film.
Well, presumably, because he died about a year ago.
Yeah.
And he's very good in it.
Of course he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a really good actor.
But
so sad. Still so sad.
Yeah. Much too young.
Much too young.
Much too young. But it's worth a look.
Good.
It's worth a look.
Good. I watched this film. It's a documentary that is on HBO, and it's called Katrina Babies. Being that I am currently also watching 5 Days at Memorial, which is really hard to watch, really interesting, of course, great acting, but also incredibly upsetting. Watching Katrina Babies was sort of an interesting addition. This young man who's a director, Edward Buckles Jr., he is a kid who grew up in New Orleans, as did all of his family. And basically what this documentary focuses on are the kids, the literal Katrina Babies, the kids who lived in New Orleans and had their lives completely rocked when the hurricane happened. And it's interesting for a lot of reasons, and I really recommend watching it. But one of the things that I think it points out in an important way is that sometimes when trauma happens, because that's what it was traumatic for everyone involved. At one point, he says to his mother, who he interviews in the film, he says, "Do you think that we were okay?" And she says, earnestly, she says, "Well, whenever I asked if you were okay, you said you were okay." And that's such a genuine, she's not saying, this woman, when you see her, she's very warm. She's not like the parent of like, "You were fine, everything's fine." It was just sort of like, well, when I asked you, you said you were fine, so I thought you were fine. And considering that the parents had also just been traumatized, it's not as simple as saying, well, why didn't they do X, Y, Z? Well, everybody was in the middle of this nightmare. How do you begin? And the nightmare continues with how many people got sick and all this other stuff. But yeah, it's a really beautiful documentary, and I recommend it highly. If you can watch it, it's an HBO, which means it's probably on HBO Max, but it's definitely on television if you want to watch it there. Oh my. Ronnie says, "As I wrote to you, Jesse, my son was 10 the day we all evacuated. I was profoundly worried for the children of Katrina floods as a mother and an educator." Well, Ron, I really recommend this to you. The filmmaker became a teacher, and that adds to the whole story. But no, it's it's really easy to judge things. It's so easy to judge anything, especially Monday morning quarterbacking. Oh, if I was there, I would have done X, Y, Z. If this had happened, I would have done blah, blah, blah. The reality is you don't know what you're going to do until something happens. You really don't. You can plan as best as you'd like to, but it's not the same thing. Documentary, again, is called Katrina Babies. So Katrina, like the hurricane, Katrina Babies. Yeah, it's upsetting, but I also think it's really beautifully done. And all the kids that they speak to are intelligent and articulate. That's part of it, is that you have these young people who are talking and you really connect with them. Yeah, man, that one, when I went and talked to my parents after I watched it, it was one of those I had to decompress a bit because it really was a lot to take in.
Yeah.
And upsetting. But I was also happy that Daisy was asleep on me at the time, because if my kid hadn't been next to me, I would have lost it.
We got to preview Ken Burns' latest film. You're saying that because
I'm not saying that at Ken. I'm talking
about tough subject matter. It's called The United States and the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And it's 3 2-hour segments. And as usual from Ken Burns, it's superior in every way. And I learned things I didn't know that I thought I knew.
Yeah.
It clarified a lot. It taught me a lot. And he interviewed, nonagenarians. And I think one man who was exactly 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They're old enough. They were old enough then to have memories of the Nazis invading, the memories of, in some cases, of the concentration camps.
And let me tell you, as Jews, there's a lot you learn, I think that everyone has some upsetting history in their lives, wherever you're from, your culture, your religion. But it's hard because we so often see that a lot of what was thought then is not necessarily gone. And that is the hardest part to face, is that it's not like you're talking about things in the far away. I mean, look, when the pandemic started, and some people use terms like China virus, you had Asians here, I mean everywhere, but even here, getting beaten up. You had Asians who were being attacked. It's like, what world do we live in that this is are you kidding me? You're angry at someone as if they had anything to do, it's like walking down the street and saying anybody with black hair is the devil. Like, come on.
Anyway, this 3-part documentary will be airing on PBS this fall.
So if you want to be even more depressed, it's You and Mommy Both were not. You struggled when you finished that, because it's really upsetting.
But so good, so well done.
Yeah.
This is a one-shot magazine called Truth Seekers, published by Rolling Stone and Variety. That came with my weekly Variety. This week got several really good articles.
It says Showtime on the front as well.
Yeah, they paid for it. 10 best documentaries in the past 10 years. See if you agree. Flea,
which I think everybody who saw was knocked out by.
Free Solo.
Really, really good.
Do
you remember that every time we saw him, Alex, the guy who's the lead in Free Solo, every time I saw him at an event while they were pushing the movie, pushing the documentary, he was always eating. And he said to me, he goes, nobody eats at these events. It's like, they have the most incredible food and nobody eats. And I was like, that is Hollywood in a nutshell. But I love that he was just like, yeah, there's free food everywhere. What's wrong with you people?
Going Clear, Scientology and the Prison of Belief.
That's a fun one.
3 Identical Strangers.
People loved that. I didn't love it. I liked it, but I didn't think that it was spectacular.
American Factory, which I thought was very good.
I didn't see that one.
Again, I didn't love it.
Yeah.
But it's very relevant.
Yeah.
Citizen 4. I thought that was Laura Poitras's film about Edward. Edward Snowden. Number 4 is The Act of Killing. I like it's a follow-up film even better. OJ Made in America,
which was interesting.
Searching for Sugar Man,
which I know if you saw it, people went, yeah.
And The Jinx, The Life and Deaths of Robert Durst,
which was interesting. I don't think these are the best documentaries in the past 10 years, but
well, that's what lists are for.
That's right.
Lists are meant to argue.
There's some good ones. What are some of your favorite documentaries, guys? What are some of the documentaries that really got you? I have a question when you guys have a moment. Yes, ask your question, Disney info for all. Ask away. Hi, Wanda says, a highlight of my Sunday afternoon tuning into you two. I learned so much. Thanks, Wanda. It's nice to have you here. I'm trying to think what else we've been watching. It's I mentioned last week that I started watching Bad Sisters, which is on Apple and has a fantastic Irish cast. The 3rd episode, I don't know, was as good, but it's still, I'm happily watching it because I love everyone in it so much. But yeah, 1 second. Let me start to pull up some of these questions that you sent in. Our question to you folks today was, what's your favorite film related book? Oh, some of the ones that folks like, Street Gang, Hearts of Darkness. My favorite documentary is Chuck Jones' Extreme and In-Betweens, A Life of Animation, which is great.
Very good.
Yeah, Hearts of Darkness is a tough one. It's another good one, but a tough one.
Oh, Be Natural.
Oh, so good. So important to film.
Alice Guy Blaché.
Oh, God, the Doc Dear Zachary. Oh, God. Christy, oh, God, Dear Zachary. That is one of the...
Gets you right here.
It's still, I know what's going to happen and I'm still surprised. Like when I've watched it again, I'm still in a state of shock because it is so unbelievable that it happened. Victoria says, I really love the TCM doc, The Making of a Legend, Gone with the Wind. Sure, never a bad time. The kid stays in the picture. Yup. Anything by Leslie Iwerks. Absolutely. Without giving anything away, my dad is working with Leslie right now. And I'm very excited to see how it all finishes up. It's exciting. Let's see, Disney. The question Disney Info for All had is, what is your favorite movie, both Disney and non-Disney? Well, we know what your favorite Disney movie is.
Well, my favorite Disney movie is Mary Poppins.
No.
My favorite animated
Disney movie that's how you cheat.
Is Dumbo.
So Dumbo and Mary Poppins. I think Mary Poppins probably. It's hard to choose. I love Hercules. I love Hercules so much, deeply. And then the movie I always say is my favorite movie is Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, but it's also, there's so many others, but those are sort of my go-to. I like all the docs Leonard appears in. Thank you. The Floyd Norman film is good. Yes, of course. Yes, the Floyd Norman documentary is wonderful. That's a really, really
Floyd Norman, An Animated Life.
Yeah. Floyd is just fantastic. He's really a special person. I feel really lucky that we know him. Okay, so some of the film books you guys talked about. 1 second. Yeah, go. No, we have questions, but not books. Hold on. A single book that, okay, so Larry's saying that he loves anything by Scott Eyman or you. Thank you for that. But for a single book that led me to the most titles that I have enjoyed, Lunatics and Lovers on Screwball Comedies. Interesting. My favorite film book, other than several of yours, thanks guys, is the 4th edition of Leslie Hallowell's The Filmgoer's Companion. I received it for Christmas in 1975 when I was 13, so it has great sentimental value as well.
I understand that.
And then he says, your books, the great movie comedy teams, the Disney films, and Of Mice and Magic are also among my favorites. Thank you for that.
That's lovely to hear. It's music to my ears.
I recently listened to Alan K. Rohde's biography of Michael Curtiz, which was excellent. Great. Yes, I also have the hard book. I'm now listening to Mel Brooks's memoir, All About Me, read by Brooks. It's so much fun, a real delight. I highly recommend both of them. Sounds good to me. Yogesh says Making Movies by Sidney Lumet.
Mm-hmm.
How can you go wrong?
A lot of people, a lot of filmmakers really admire and respect that book, as they did Mr. Lumet.
Oh, yeah. This is interesting. If a biopic were to be greenlit for the life and times of Leonard Maltin, would you rather it tell the whole story or one specific part? And would you want it to be a musical or set in a different cinematic genre altogether?
I don't know how to answer that question. No disrespect. I don't know how to begin to answer that question.
I would say it could be a musical only because we all sing a lot. There's a lot of singing in our household.
La, 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 la.
There's a lot of singing in our household. I would say that one specific part. I mean, honestly, my dad's sort of your what do they call it? Origin story. It's pretty amusing, but it's definitely niche. Like, I don't know how people would feel if they just watched this very adorable film nerd living out his best life. But maybe they would like it. Who knows? Jim says, hey, from St. Louis. My favorite film book, other than your movie comedy teams, which was my first, would be Leslie Cabarga's The Fleischer Story.
Oh, that's a wonderful book.
Just caught Ryan Murphy's Feud on Hulu. Either of you seen it? I didn't watch it. You did.
Yes.
And you didn't love it.
No, I didn't love it. I thought the actresses were good. I thought they gave it their best shot, playing Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. I thought Stanley Tucci was miscast as Jack Warner. I'm not fond of biopics or docudramas that cover material that I'm familiar with, because I'm automatically judgmental.
Yeah.
And
which actually goes into, Maria said, have asked if you've watched the Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward doc.
Yes.
So that's interesting.
That's excellent. That's a 6-hour binge watch, and it's worth the investment of all that time if you're curious at all about Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward.
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke did a great job, and the folks who worked with him editing the material. You know, Alice, my wife, grew up swooning over Paul Newman. And,
as I think anybody would, really.
Yeah. And it's a very, very interesting documentary. It covers fresh ground about both Newman and Woodward. And it reminds people, if they didn't know it already, that when they married, Joanne Woodward was the star. He was the up-and-comer, but she was an Oscar-winning star. So balance of power, if you will, shifted over the years.
Yeah. Steve says, excellent filmmaking book is When the Shooting Stops by Ralph Rosenblum.
Ralph Rosenblum. When I was living in New York, I taught at the New School for Social Research. And for every course that you taught, you were allowed to take one for free. And so I arranged for Alice and I to take Ralph Rosenblum's film editing course, which was not a how-to. It was like a film appreciation course from the point of view of an editor. And he taught it in his brownstone apartment on the Upper West Side, and was the most revelatory experience I've ever had as a film buff. And his story, he didn't make himself the hero of every story that he told. He would screen a film that he had edited, like Bad Company, Robert Benton's first film with Jeff Bridges, and tell us a little about it beforehand, screen the film on 16 millimeter, and then the next week we'd watch it again and stop it after every segment and talk about the decisions, the choices that were made and why they were made, and where he disagreed with the director, where he agreed. Ralph did a lot of people's first movies. That was Robert Benton's first. He did Mel Brooks, The Producers. He did Woody Allen's Take the Money and Run. He did Harold Prince's only movie, Something for Everyone, not a very good movie, and had stories galore. And fortunately, somebody sat him down and helped create that book, which is invaluable.
It's wild. I think it's really interesting which books, documentaries, what have you, have stood the test of time like that.
Yeah.
That there are certain books that people will always recommend for certain things. I think that when someone's a good teacher, you know, and whether that means they literally teach or they're just an excellent writer, I feel like that can stand the test of time without aging as much, you know?
I read a very good book beginning of the pandemic by another experienced film editor named Paul Hirsch. And I can't remember the name of his book, but he edited like 11 films with Brian De Palma in the 70s and 80s. He worked with George Lucas. He worked with a lot of interesting people. And it's a very candid recollection. And that's well worth reading too. Paul Hirsch.
D23 fan says, hey, Jesse and Leonard, have you heard of this episode of the Disneyland TV series called Magic and Music featuring the Magic Mirror?
Well, I must have seen it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I don't remember it well.
Why do you ask? What specifically do you enjoy?
That's the kind of thing I would love to see them doing on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Showing those segments.
Yeah.
Showing those episodes. I don't know why they don't.
Disney's just great, aren't they? Just Disney. Why do you fail me, Disney? No, we haven't watched Light and Magic yet on Disney Plus because my dad can't get Disney Plus to work upstairs, and I just haven't had time with the baby. But yeah. The reason that they're asking is, did you know that Hans Conried played the Magic Mirror in the Disneyland TV series?
Oh yes, I remember that very well. I would think.
That's so funny. Oh gosh, yeah. There's so many. You guys are bringing up so many good, both documentaries and film books. Has new Disney Legend recipient Don Hahn been on your podcast yet? He was. Yes. Yeah, we had him. I guess it's a few years ago now. Oh yeah, I love Don. I love Don so much. He's so much fun. Did you ever review the new Elvis movie?
I never posted a review.
No, but you liked it.
I didn't see it right when it opened. I missed press screenings of it. I liked the first half or so, and then I thought it got routine, which is a word I would never think of using with Baz Luhrmann directing. I liked, the originality of the approach, and then the last part of the film was kind of redundant with the HBO documentary that I'd watched a few years ago, which covered Elvis's life and the Colonel's involvement very well.
It's a 2-part doc, and it's so good. We talked about it before when this movie came out. We mentioned that doc because I had a whole bunch of friends who hadn't heard of it, and I had them go watch it, and they loved the doc because it's really, there's another one where you've got sort of like the myth and the reality.
Yeah.
Elvis, whether it's you're making fun of him because there's 7,000 Elvises in Vegas, or people make jokes about how he died, things like that. But you're really sort of removing the talent when you do that. And he was really talented. And he loved music. He really loved music. So I think it's tough when someone becomes kind of a punchline, and you end up in a way forgetting all of the good stuff that they did. The part of them that there's a reason why he was a superstar.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Larry Smith is coming through for us. The title of Paul Hirsch's book is A Long Time Ago in a Cutting Room Far, Far Away. My 50 years editing Hollywood hits.
May I say, that's why you didn't remember the title. If I may, that's why you didn't remember the title, because that was one hell of a title. Man, oh man. Yeah, I'm trying to, you haven't talked about the book that I don't think we talked about last week, the book that you're reading right now. So I like to lovingly refer to my dad as Cliff's Notes, because as I've talked to you guys before, my mom and I are both severely dyslexic, and it takes us ages to read books. My mom loves to listen to books on tape. I have a problem with that because talking makes me fall asleep. So when I listen to books on tape, I go, oh, this is nice. This is nice. This is good. And then I'm out. But my dad reads everything and then just tells us all the stuff he likes. So the book that you did dive into.
I've embarked upon an 800-page book by Doris Kearns Goodwin. This is the book that won her the Pulitzer Prize. It's called The Bully Pulpit, and it's about Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, and the golden age of journalism, as she calls it. And I'm 200-something pages in, 250 pages in, actually.
The only person I know who's like, this 800-page book, let's read it for fun, says the dyslexic.
Good. Yeah. She's such a good writer, such a great researcher, but such a good writer. It never feels like a classroom lecture. She makes everything very vivid. Terrific.
But there have been a lot of fun facts that you've been sharing.
Yeah.
And it's again, there are people that you hear about a lot. I think Roosevelt gets quoted constantly, but I don't know many people, especially young people, who have sort of looked into his history.
Mm-hmm.
They don't necessarily know where he comes from, how he grew up, how he met his wife, or what happened. I didn't know about the first wife.
Yeah.
Which was the whole thing. Just tell that real quick, because it's really interesting.
He grew up in a privileged family, and a large family, very close-knit. And in their townhome, multi-story townhome in Manhattan, his wife died in giving birth to their daughter Alice. And the same day, at the same time, on another floor, his mother died. And the only way he could process or deal with this incredible grief was to go out west to his cattle ranch and just try to bury himself in activity. And
but beyond that,
but then that daughter, Alice Roosevelt Longworth, later said that she always felt strange because
he never talked about
his mother never was talked about. Her mother was never mentioned, never discussed.
Yeah.
It left her kind of adrift.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? Yeah, that's a tough one. Rachel says, I love that Leonard loves to read. Leonard is so cool. I think he is too. I wish I could read, which sounds funny. I know. My dyslexia was terrible when I was young. And now it's not as bad. I think the reason it's not as bad is because I don't have to do it that often. I'm not trying to read books for school or things like that. But I will say my favorite book, it's not film related, but it will always be my favorite, is David Sedaris' Me Talk Pretty One Day. I can't recommend it enough. It's hilarious. It's so brilliant. And now having a child, it's that much funnier because he talks about how he was raised. Most of his books talk about his family, how he grew up, being gay, all kinds of different things. And it's just, it's.
I think he has a story in the new issue of the New Yorker.
Does he? He often. Yeah. I mean, he's always doing something. Robert says, I wish Leonard was my dad. I can't lie to you, Robert. He's a pretty good dad. And I recommend him
thanks.
If you need a dad, he's a solid dad to get. Yes. Lynn also adores David Sedaris. I do. I love his stuff. There's only one or two of his books that I didn't enjoy, but in general, they're just so good. They're just so
time for a little show and tell.
Good. Wondering if you both will be at Invaders from Mars at Cinecon. No, because to say we're going to be in Telluride, which has been an issue for you guys for 40 years.
Yep.
That Cinecon is the same time as Telluride. So.
And Alice and I and Randy Haberkamp co-hosted Cinecon in Hollywood in 1990 and 91. And then at the end of the 91, we felt we gave it the office. It was time to give ourselves a break and go to Telluride. And then by that time, we so fallen in love with the town and the festival that we just had to keep going back.
Yep. Oh, James says, hi from Australia. My favorite book of Leonard Maltin's is Of Mice and Magic. I read it when I was 12 and it inspired my life.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you.
That's really lovely. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay, so just a few more books you guys have recommended. Kai says bit tangential, but I don't think so. Arthur Marx's My Life with Groucho and Steve Stoller's Raised Eyebrows Are Fantastic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that. Speaking of reading, I adore seeing little Lulu and Tubby behind you. Aren't they great? My dad, I don't know if that's how you meant to teach me how to read, but in part, we read a lot of Dr. Seuss.
Right.
That was a big one. But I think I learned more from the Lil Abner comics. The
Kitchen Sink Press reprints of Al Cap's Lil Abner. And they really did help you with your vocabulary and with
I think
understanding words.
Probably not great for spelling. Probably not ideal for spelling, with that. But oh man, that was the best way to learn. I very much look forward to Daisy getting into Lil Abner because it's never a bad time. This person says, I quite literally wore out my copy of Movie Comedy Teams purchased in my youth. Fortunately, later on, eBay came to the rescue for a replacement. That's great.
I met more people who said that was their first movie book. And the reason for it was very practical. It was distributed by a major publisher, New American Library, and it was sold in Woolworths and drugstores and card and gift shops all over the country. And it was only $1.50. And so it was, even for a kid, kind of affordable. And I think by now I've met almost everybody who owns a copy of that book.
So funny.
Let me do some quick show and tell here.
Disney Info for All. You're going to be at D23 Expo on the Sunday. We'll be there. We'll be there all weekend. We'll be at the Mice Chat booth for the most part, but wandering around, and we'll be everywhere. So,
a company that made men's suits called Sampeck Triple Service Suits in the teens had these pins made with male movie stars. I can't find my Charlie Chaplin. I couldn't find it.
I'm pretty sure he's on a jacket.
But there's Douglas
somewhere.
Fairbanks, and here's William S. Hart, who never wore a conventional suit in a movie.
Picky.
And here's someone else who's a dubious endorser of men's suits.
Fatty
Arbuckle.
I wish there was a way to clean that one up.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's 100 years old or something.
And it is literally.
It is literally. These are 100 years old.
Over 100
These are over 100 years old.
Okay. This is kind of unusual because this is for Douglas Fairbanks and the Black Pirate. And it's at the Strand Theater. I don't know which Strand Theater that would be. There were many that adopted that name. But that would be 1926. Oh, you guys like this one. Here's a pin. William Randolph Hearst for mayor. I assume that would have been San Francisco where he ran for mayor,
Probably.
but I may be wrong. But
could be anywhere in California or anywhere in general. But
here is the kicker. I do not read Hearst papers.
This is my favorite pin that my dad owns. I do not read Hearst papers. And it's my favorite because I love putting it onto his clothes to see if anybody notices it. That's my favorite. I like to find out if people actually read it. Do you have Buster Keaton? Do you got Buster Keaton pin thing? Do we have a pin of Buster Keaton?
Not a vintage one.
No, but you do have two.
This must have been a presidential year. Will Rogers, he chews to run, as in chewing tobacco.
Hang on. So funny. Here it is.
This is from 1940, a little later. It says, "Keep America free to laugh at the great dictator."
This is another one I love to put on him. I love to put pins on my dad that will get people talking if they notice it because it's a detail thing. Craig says, I'm very shy and was briefly introduced to Leonard by Robin Audrey. Oh, of course, at Cinefest 2000. He was very nice. I was there with my sister and brother-in-law, notorious film scholar, Arthur Lenig. Brother-in-law. There we go. Film scholar. Interesting. Any Laurel and Hardy pins? Yes.
Again, not vintage.
I think you have one.
Here's a Jackie Coogan club.
Hey, Mom.
Yeah.
Are you dressed? Do you want to say hi real quick?
I've been outside in the street. I was looking for this.
You want to say hi real quick? You can say hi real quick.
I have several badges that must have been for security guards.
We love those because people always notice them and they say, "What's that for?"
Hal Roach Studios Inc. number 120. Number 120 out of how many? We don't know.
We will never know.
I'm trying to figure out.
Hi, Joe. We're just looking at pins. Hang on. I'm going to push this back. Hang on. Come here.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello. How are you? Hello. Hi.
Logan, are you still
Is
in
this
the
seat
baby's toys
available?
again? It is now.
Okay.
For you, madam, it is always
Well,
available.
I've just been outside.
You've just been. It's still a billion degrees.
You know, it's not a billion degrees, but it just feels so hot.
There you go.
Hello.
It just feels so hot.
Those of you who wondered if I was still alive.
She is still alive. And now
I'm
you
not
know
really, no,
she is
no.
still alive. Ryan says, "Hello, Alice. I hope you're doing well." Everyone's saying, "Hi, Alice."
Hi, guys. Hi, guys. My
Alice.
son-in-law is doing what I usually do today.
Babysitting
Taking
the baby.
care of Daisy.
Taking care of the baby.
And what a baby.
Victoria says, "We missed you, Alice."
Well, I'm here to straighten these two out,
There
so
you
it's
go.
okay.
That's right.
I don't have the makeup on to look gorgeous.
I'm
I
in
wanna
my
look.
I'm in my
You look
pajamas.
very nice.
Thanks,
look
Mom.
Doesn't she look
It's
sexy?
the PJs. They
She
really
looks very sexy.
they really
What's that, honey?
RKO Studios electrician.
Mm,
If anyone questioned you as you were walking around
what you were
the
doing
RKO
exactly.
lot,
Lynn wants to know what Alice has been watching.
I have well.
And Alan says, my day is complete. Alice is here. I missed you.
You're very sweet. Oh, you must be very lonely people. I've been watching. Well, I go on my recumbent stationary bike, and I've been watching Brokenwood Mysteries. This is a New Zealand set of, I think it's 7 seasons. I will say that they're really quite good. You can't. It's about an hour and a half each one. You can't figure them out, and the people are quite nice. And then you listen to this very funny accent, and you want to make certain that you don't start talking that way. You know, it's
Coming from you.
yeah. What about
You're
it?
worried they're going to start talking funny?
What about it? Yeah.
Listen, lady from the
Anyway.
Bronx.
And we did finish Only Murders in the Buildings, which as ex-New Yorkers we truly enjoyed, because we lived down the block from the sister to that building. And you know, the funny thing about those buildings is they're really in terrible shape. I mean, the apartments are magnificent, but the buildings themselves, because they're very old and the pipes are old, and friends of Leonard's parents lived
in the Apthorpe.
and they would turn on the faucet and the black water would come out, you know, but you were living in a great place, you know.
9-room apartments, 10-room apartments.
Well, for the servants.
Lynn's asking if what you're watching is on Acorn or BritBox.
It's very good. I think it's Acorn. I watch both BritBox and Acorn. I'm pretty sure it's Acorn. And I don't know what I would do without those. You know, those are the few, like, we pay for everything. We pay, you know, for Amazon, we pay for
We have all the various streaming
But the
services.
ones that I really use are, in fact, BritBox, Acorn, BBC, because they're just, you know, they're running the old Agatha Christie with Mrs. Marple. Well, Miss Marple. I'm sorry. That's right. Her fiance died in the war, World War I. Just so we get that right. It is delightful, and it's also peopled with great character actors that we all enjoy. Some of them who've now gone to puppy heaven.
Well,
and I mean, you know, things like that. In light of the world we're in, okay, which is fast changing and doing all kinds of things, it is just lovely to sit and watch these pros have fun. And
I'm with you.
So there you go. I don't want to.
Hang on. Greetings all the way from South Africa.
Hello.
Thank you so much for all the wonderful info you provide for DVD extras. Yes, my dad is very useful for those DVD extras.
You're very welcome.
I don't think.
Have Christy's asking if you've ever watched Are You Being Served?
Oh God, I watched that years ago. God. Yes, I did years ago. Yeah, very funny. Very fun. So British. I mean, I think so much of the stuff that's coming now is so un-British. Not the ones I'm watching, but all the newfangled stuff. It could be anybody. It's not the charm of the British. It's not the humor. And Are You Being Served? And the wonderful, wonderful actors. And actresses. I still like to use the word actresses. I know you're not supposed to.
Oh, that's very
picky.
I know.
21st century.
Let me tell you how hard it was to get used to not using the word actresses.
What are the Maltins dressing up for for Halloween?
Good question. I think first of all, Daisy's too young because she'll still only be a year when that happens. But maybe the following year.
What are you thinking?
Her entourage.
What are you thinking?
I don't know.
What will we wear?
Well, we've got to see what's happening.
What will we do?
What's going on?
When my husband realized that he can dress the baby up however he wants, he's like, "Oh my God, we have options." So I'm assuming she's going to be a dinosaur. I'm going to guess she's going to be a dinosaur, but we'll find out.
I
We'll
thought a
see what he
unicorn, but
chooses.
okay.
Well,
Yeah.
if it's me, it's a unicorn, but if it's
Yeah.
him, it's definitely going to be that. I love that Jesse was Leonard last Halloween. I you know, I just, thankfully it doesn't take much for me to look like my dad. That was pretty quick.
Blame me.
Does Alice like keeping up appearances?
Oh yeah, I've liked that too. These are old shows.
Yep.
They're wonderful old shows. But I think when I'm on the bike, I've got to get stuff that keeps me going, because I ride for 50 minutes and a cool down of 10 minutes. So I need to have stuff, and I tend to really enjoy the mysteries,
whodunits,
or the thrillers, or a really good story that grabs you. And
has Alice seen the British show This Way Up on Hulu?
No, I have not.
Well, there you go.
Oh.
You have a recommendation.
Okay.
This Way Up on Hulu.
I think I've read about it.
Hulu.
It's on now on Hulu?
Let me look.
That's the implication.
Because
Yes.
I get up and go upstairs right now.
Yeah, right.
I'm going upstairs right now.
Let's see if it is. Yeah, my mom and I both love all that kind of stuff. There's a show, I think it was on Netflix. It's called Keeping Up, and it's this Scottish show. It's absolutely ridiculous, and my husband grew up watching it, and he recommended it to me, and I love that. Oh, yes, I've seen This Way Up. Because it's got Aisling B and Sharon Horgan. So, and Tobias Menzies. Yeah.
Ooh,
it's been a while since I've seen this, but yeah. Yes.
Tobias Menzies.
There are 12
went on
episodes.
to play George VI in The Crown.
On The Crown, he's so good in general.
Yeah.
He's so talented. Do you like to watch Alice in Wonderland with Catherine Beaumont?
Oh gosh, I don't think I haven't seen that in a long time.
We know
we
Kathy.
Knew Catherine. We knew her.
We knew Kathy Beaumont.
Oh, just the
We
sweetest.
still know her.
Yeah.
No, didn't she?
No.
Oh,
Alive
I'm thinking
and
of
well.
her husband. I'm so sorry. Her ex-husband.
Yes, right.
Sorry, Al. I
No.
forgot.
She's fine.
I'm sorry, Catherine.
She's doing just fine.
She's exactly what you would have wanted her to be when you met her. She was a school teacher.
Yeah.
She was a second grade teacher in Burbank, I believe.
No,
can you imagine?
But it's okay. I don't mean to step on you. You're big. Yeah, you know all
It
this.
sure was Burbank.
Well, it's actually it's Toluca.
Well, then
but it's
I'm
okay.
wrong.
In any case, she yes. This is
if you wonder what my life sounds like, it's this.
This is what she has to live with. The other thing is, Leonard and I both love character actors, so we're watching movies. We'll be screaming names, and Jesse's staring at us.
No, Jesse just leaves.
Oh, that's right.
Once the yelling starts, I'm out.
Yeah.
No, it's always funny to watch stuff because the two of you, because like they always have TCM on, or my dad has the Western Channel on, and the two of them will just start talking about stuff.
We're looking for escape.
I know.
I mean,
I like this game. Has Alice seen McDonald and Dodds?
No, I haven't watched
love
that
it.
yet. Should I? I mean, I've seen it all. I haven't watched it. Do you recommend that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the other.
Well, there's Shakespeare and something else too, and I haven't seen that. Some of them just don't. If they don't grab me, it's not going to work. But I watched this Broken Wood, and the characters are just really delightful. I mean,
So Ken asked us earlier when the last time was that we cried. Danny and I cried watching a movie. He's asking you the same.
Well,
What's
I
the last
just
time you cried?
a little while ago watching Penny Serenade on Turner Classic Movies. Now,
we had cry every time you watch.
Yeah, we had a very hard time having a child, so we couldn't get a child, so we took Jesse. No, we were most fortunate that eventually I was able to conceive and carry and have this kid who makes my life. Anyway, and so it was on, and I just, Cary Grant, Irene Dunn, just kill me now. Edgar Buchanan, Edgar Buchanan, who was just so wonderful in that movie. Yeah. That's
it's time for us to say goodbye.
Tis that time.
For now.
Now, technically, we are not going to be on with you guys for 2 weeks. Oh, we're going to get the last one. Sorry. Before we finish. Come here, monkey. Oh, we just woke up from a nap and we're not happy. Hi. I'm just gonna say hi.
Hello.
Hello. Now you see. This is oh,
Oh, there you go.
monkey.
There you go.
Monkey.
She's not like
Mwah.
that. Actually, she's
Hi, Bubba. She just woke up from a nap.
she's a people
Do you
person.
blame her? Do
You should have
blame
seen her working the crowd
She just woke up from a nap.
at the
She's
Comic-Con,
tired.
okay? And she'll work the crowd in Telluride, and she'll work the crowd at D23.
Anyway, we next week. Hi, Grandpa. Grandpa, you want to sing?
No.
Yeah,
Next
we
week.
did.
Sure, Grandpa.
Yay, dude. Oh, come on, dude. Let her
She's
Nicey and Daisy.
She's fine.
Yeah.
She just woke up. She's sleepy. So yeah, we won't be on for the next 2 weeks. Because we'll be in Telluride next week, and
All of
then
us, the five of
at
us,
D23.
the following week.
But we will see if we can maybe come on another day or something. If not, we won't see you for 2 weeks, but we will check in as always. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, Alan, of course, my husband loves Red Dwarf. We watch that, of course. It's one of his favorites. I'll compile a list of all the British things that we watch because there's a lot of them. Anyway, we will see you very soon. We will check in with everybody and be safe, be healthy.
And
Be safe out there. as
and
they
be
say.
kind.
Yeah, and be kind. Yes. Very good.